Well, hello, I'm Matt Williamson, and I am back and excited and refreshed after a wonderful week at Turks and Caicos. The beach was amazing, the water was amazing, great time with the fam. Everything except the travel home, which it is somewhat criminal what these airlines can do to customers nowadays. But I won't get into that too much. But hey, American Airlines, you are not my friend. Anyway, I got home about 2:30 a.m. last night after leaving our place in the resort around 8 a.m. Long day. That being said, spent a lot of time at the beach, looking at the waves, snorkeling, having a cold one, hanging with the fam, and you start to reflect on things. And I've changed my tune on the future of Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. By no means do I think he's a bad player. It's not what I'm saying about this. But while I was gone, the Patriots signed Ramondre Stevenson to a 4-year, $36 million deal with an $8 million bonus, and 17 million of that 36 is guaranteed for Stevenson, who I think is a better player than Harris. I am a big Stevenson fan. That's not a negative on Najee at all, to be very honest with you. I mean, I think Najee has value. His reliability, his toughness, his physicality, where he plays. I don't say he's Jerome Bettis, but we understand that he's worth more in the fourth quarter than he is at the beginning. I mean, he wears people down. I think he's an untapped resource as a receiver. And pretty much all along, I thought they would pick up his fifth-year option. They didn't, which, again, reflecting, I understand, because do I want to guarantee a contract for a running back when I don't even know what happens to him during this entire 17-plus game season? I mean, he could blow out a knee. I mean, you don't want to be on the hook for that. And looking at the Stevenson contract, I'm sure Harris will come to the table with this in mind and say, I want 10% more. You know, there's an inflation tax because it's a year later. Maybe they're even having this conversation right now. Who's to say? But I would think that they're comps. Again, I think Stevenson's the better player. You think watching the Steelers' offense has been hard lately? Go watch the Patriots the past 2 years. He's been their best player by 1,000. What they did to Mac Jones was criminal. You think about bad coordinating and things like that. Oh, the Patriots are brutal. And they have no playmakers. So the whole world was keying on Stevenson. Now, this is not a Ramondre Stevenson podcast. This is a Steeler podcast. But if the going rate for Najee is the Stevenson deal, which I think is logical, and he might get it somewhere or here, who knows? I mean, I think that's the realm, the same tier, give or take at least, because neither one is the best back in the league, but they're both quite good, you know, and they're about the same age, et cetera, same wear and tear. Again, I prefer Stevenson. We don't have to get into that fight. I don't know how much you guys have watched Stevenson, but boy, you'd like him if he was a Steeler. Let's get back to this in a minute, though. But first off, BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the team's latest matchups, player props, and odds, just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Looking at the Steeler running back room, if you're not aware, we've talked about this a little bit lately before I left. Both Warren and Harris have expiring contracts after this year. And as I sat on the beach with the cold one and all those good things, I thought more and more I would offer Warren a contract now. I mean, think about a first-round running back and the money they've made versus an undrafted running back and the what's in the Warren bank account versus the Harris bank account. Even if they're equal players, human nature tells you could get Warren cheaper because he hasn't made any money yet, and running backs in a way are on borrowed time. You know, I mean, they're all looking for that Ramondre deal, but I don't think you have to give that to Warren today. You know, I mean, as opposed to you could rip up his very, very cheap bargain contract, give him a huge bump by his standards, and for 2 more years, give or take. I feel stronger and stronger about doing that. Will that offend Najee? Oh, well, I mean, this is business. Yeah, that's the way it works. And then he'll run even harder and try to prove the world that he's the best back in the league. Whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to cause ill will within the running back room, but signing Warren right now to at least another year, maybe 2, I think is extremely wise. So, did a little homework. Najee has 978 total touches at the NFL level, 834 of which are carries, which, generalizing, I think carries do more damage to your body than receptions. You're in space, you can duck out of bounds. Not that every running back carry is, a train wreck, but a lot are. But, carries I think are going to take more out of you than receptions. But he has 978 total touches, 834 are carries. Where Warren, on the other hand, only has 315 total touches. That's not much wear and tear. 226 of which are carries. So he at least carried the ball at the NFL level 226 times. We could go back to college, we go back to high school, but I didn't want to be honest with you. I mean, Najee's a tough one. All the Bama backs are, because he could carry the ball a ton in a big game at Bama or sit the whole fourth quarter when they're destroying somebody. So that being said, Najee turns 27 years old in March, and Warren turns 26 in November. So they're not all that far apart, so 6 months, I guess. Warren's going to turn 26 here during the season. Najee will turn 26 a few months after the season. But, and this doesn't keep me from giving 2 years to Warren, 27 has kind of historically been when it's time to get out on a running back. I mean, there's a lot of recent history, and there's some examples of going past this, McCaffrey and Henry and Elliott and these guys. But as a rule of thumb, 27 is danger. I mean, it's time to not starting investing in running backs. And Najee turns 27 in March. Came in the league older than you think. Warren is 6 months older. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you mix that with the wear and tear situation, it's like over 600 touches difference and 6 months. And I don't think you're ever going to really ask Warren to be 80% running back share type of year. And he does have one less season in the league. He has that less season of wear and tear and all the offseason stuff you put on and all that kind of stuff as well. So I think this Ramondre contract kind of just perked my ears up to, I don't know that I want to give Harris that money at his age, with his wear and tear, with his skill set. And maybe the biggest reason that I haven't touched on is subject to change. Subject to change. Because this is late June, but this upcoming running back draft class looks amazing. There could be 3 or 4 running backs. I know this is unheard of in today's NFL that are in the first round mix. I'm not saying the Steelers should use a first round pick on a running back, but I am saying you let Harris walk. You use that money elsewhere on quarterback or receiver or whatever. And it's also a very, very deep draft. If there's 4 running backs that could go in the first round, subject to change. That means 2 will, and 2 will go top 50. But then round 3, round 4 is loaded this year. Loaded. I mean, it's the best running back class that I can remember, subject to change. We got a whole season. Maybe since the McCaffrey, Fournette, James Conner year. So set yourself up to take advantage of that. And you don't have to make this decision right this minute. If Harris happens to lead the league in rushing or goes insane, you could slap the franchise tag on him, put 1 more year, to keep him around here. But I think the move is use Najee as you have, which is a lot. Pound him into the ground, send him on his way, extend Warren now while you can buy cheap, which I think is a perfect opportunity considering he has very little earnings to this point in his life. Give him a nice bonus. The Warren family would be thrilled. And then draft one next year, 3rd round, who knows? I mean, we can get into that. That's way getting ahead of ourselves. But all those factors and the homework I've done on next year's class, and I urge you just to check out the names of the YouTube highlights or whatever. These dudes are good. There's a really, really impressive group of running backs on the horizon here. So You got to keep that stuff in mind. You can't overvalue that as a GM, as a team builder, because subject to change, especially with quarterbacks. But running backs aren't going to stay in college as long as other teams, even with the money they're giving them. They're probably going to come out when the opportunity's there. And the opportunity's there for some really good ones to hit the market really, really soon here in this draft. So you jump on it. And I think you have to start thinking about that now, especially because you have two high-quality backs, and you're going to run the ball a lot with these guys. You're going to put a lot more wear and tear on both their bodies, especially Harris. I am a little interested to see what he looks like in the preseason camp with the shedded weight, but overall, that doesn't change my philosophy on this whole podcast as a whole, this whole running back situation as a whole. I'd rather invest in Warren. Clearly, I think he'd be cheaper. I think he'd be more eager to sign right now, and I want to capitalize on next year's running back class. Plus, it doesn't seem this way, but it happens really quick, especially in running back years. If you invest in both these guys now, you're going to have an old backfield in a year. You know what I mean? Like, I think you want to stagger your running backs with age. You don't want them to both be one's 28 and one's 27 a year from now, 6 months apart. It's like, we got two old backs. I can live with a 27 and a 22-year-old, you know what I mean? And go that way. Plus, you got the Cordell Pattersons of the world who doesn't seem like he has a ton of value, and they seem to be calling him more of a receiver than running back. We'll see about that. But someone like that can also carry some of the load, could be a quality third guy for you. So that's just my thoughts. It's something I kind of changed my mind on while I was gone. Tomorrow is mailbag day. So if you want to get me some questions, that's great. I'll also send out a tweet. I'm going to try to get you guys 3 podcasts this week to make up for my time gone. And I'm always open for more topics as well. Kind of an odd time of the year, of course. All right, guys, take care.